Hey everybody, welcome back. It's business and it's time to do one of the ships I really should have done a long time ago, the Tier 5 Japanese destroyer, the Minekaze. There's a fair bit to go over with this, but basically it's kind of a mix between the Wakataki and the Isokaze. So you have the guns of the Wakataki, but you have the torps of the Isokaze and a bit more speed and overall flexibility, which is really good. So you start off with a paltry 6.9 kilometer range. You can boost that up to 7.6. I run advanced firing training, so that gets it up over 9 kilometers. You can't really stealth fire with this, unfortunately, but the turret traverse is miserable at 30 seconds for 180 degrees. The fire chance is 80%, and the shell velocity is the same as the Wakataki at 825 meters per second versus 660 on the Isokaze. So you should be a little bit more suited to be able to defend yourself. The torps, same as the Isokaze, 47 seconds, 7 kilometer range, 68 knots. So they hit like a damn truck too. They can pretty much clear out an enemy Nagado's health if you hit all 6, as you've seen in a previous video. The rudder shift at stock is pretty good, and the speed is phenomenal at about 38 knots, and you do have 6.2 kilometer detection at stock. So this is, by the way, a skin by Tans, so you can find that in the description, of course. So it's a bit cleaned up, has the numbers and designations, that sort of thing. You do have a hull upgrade, which drops you down to 2.1 seconds on the rudder shift, and your turret upgrade drops your reload by 2 seconds. There's no other benefit to it other than that, but it does matter quite a bit. As far as the modules are concerned, I run main armaments mod 1, aiming systems mod 1, and of course the propulsion mod. So better to lose your steering than your engine, always the case. And I do like to just point out, I do run aiming system mod 1 for reduced dispersion, because a lot of the ships you'll be fighting are, as far as your guns are concerned, are very, very small profile, like the Wakataki, the Minekaze, Matsuki. These are ships that are really hard to get shells on, so if you can tighten up that dispersion, if your aim is good, then you should be just fine as far as being able to go ahead and hit your enemy destroyers. And that's really why I use it, and also because I'd rather go ahead and focus on accuracy versus the turret traverse, because I can at least affect that with expert marksman, which is eventually what I'll do. I did record this a while back. I do currently have concealment expert, so you can get that down with camo down to a maximum of 5.4 kilometer detection, which is fantastic, of course. And naturally I run the usual stuff for situation awareness, last stand, superintendent. I do like to run advanced firing training for that extra range, of course. You can also run basic firing training to increase the the reload speed on your main battery by 10%, so that'll bring it down to a 9-second reload. And that doesn't sound like much, but 10% is 10%, and that can definitely add up over the course of a match. Let's see, the max speed with this, with speed boost, is 44.1 knots, which is insanely fast at tier 5. And of course, as far as the camos are concerned, this is of course the skin that I currently run, and then we got the variations of the dill pickle that Wargaming provides for us. And look at that. I really wish we could at least change some of the color schemes on this. That would be great. But yeah, always run some camo. Make sure that you have the maximum concealment that you could possibly achieve, because it's important, especially on a ship like this. Alright, so moving into some gameplay here. One thing I really adore about this ship is just how it handles. And especially after playing battleships and stuff, and you come back to the Minekaze and you're like, oh my god, this is incredible. It's like a ninja on the water. It's so smooth to play, and with that super slender profile, you can charge right into torpedo spreads and split them. And you're doing it at a blistering pace of 35-40 knots or something. It's exciting as hell to drive, because it makes you feel like you're just carving through the water. And you add that into the stalker type of gameplay that you can do. I had some good examples of that today with There's a Isokazi that fired his guns at like 7 kilometers away at somebody else. He had no idea that I was there, and he walked right into my torps. That was one of the funnier moments of the stream today. But sitting, this is not a ship you really sit in the back, or at least I don't. Like, I don't necessarily mind being spotted because it can serve as a distraction to the opponents who are engaging my teammates. So if that keeps them alive longer, cool, great. I'm super happy about that. And I do also want to point out there's going to be a lot of variation between the clips in terms of the mods and the like player panel mods up in the top. And by the way, I do have AP loaded because this ship does actually have pretty solid penetration at close range. I had actually today did a double citadel on a Pensacola at close range, so that was pretty funny. I think it was like 4.7 kilometers away. Don't be afraid to use your guns, please, please, please. If the difference between winning and losing is you firing your guns and you're already detected, or hell, even if you're not detected, just shoot. It makes all the difference in the world, because I've lost a lot of games because even though somebody's detected and they're 4 kilometers away from somebody, and they haven't used their smoke, or like they had already used it and they're running out of their smoke, they still don't fire their guns because they're, quote, a torpedo boat. Bullshit. That's just, it's so stupid to do it like that. Play US destroyers, play Russian destroyers, and you learn the value of your guns. And that's what you gotta have as far as your mentality is concerned. You're gonna see me in various clips use my guns from time to time. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. But I do enjoy the distraction factor of, oh shit, there's a Minekaze off to, my bow or something like that. If a cruiser or like a battleship is engaged in somebody else, and all of a sudden it starts getting hit from the other side because I'm there, that's I think that's a huge factor in being able to really unbalance somebody's gameplay and give you the best chance, and your team the best chance at being able to win. And you'll notice I launched torps at that battleship over there, the Congo. Well, yeah, look who walks right into the line of fire. Completely oblivious. But as I was saying before I got rather distracted, the mods and things like that you'll see here, these clips cover a huge amount of time. The first clips that you were seeing were from February 16th. This one is from March 6th, and it goes on and on from there. So that's kind of something to just bear in mind. If you see something that you've got a question about, chances are I don't use it anymore. Maybe there's some changes that are made there, but the port video was recorded only last week, so yeah, I'll leave it at that. But my more recent footage is in the last episode of Ships and Giggles, episode 7. That was my big rush towards the concealment expert skill, because I couldn't wait to get that. But the one thing that I really like to point out is that the Minekaze, I feel, is always top tier, no matter what the situation is. If this is a tier 7 match, and this ship is just as dangerous as any other destroyer a Colorado is going to face, because the ability to get in and out of situations so quickly, the fact that it has 7-kilometer torps, which it's not necessarily an issue because of the fact that it's also really, it does have excellent concealment. So so long as it can stealth fire, it doesn't matter what range the torps are. And in that respect, I think that the Minekaze, that's actually where it becomes the most overpowered, because it's never really at a disadvantage, save for an enemy carrier being on the opposing team, because that leads to a lot of your torps being spotted so people can get out of the way, or you're getting spotted so you get nullified quite a bit more. But when it comes down to it, this ship is always a threat in any match. And of course, if you're top tier and you're facing tier 3s, I mean, those poor guys, they really don't stand a chance if you play it smart. And that's the hard part, is trying to make sure that despite the fact that you're top tier and it's a ship like this, that you're not too cocky. because it's really easy to be that way. And I've gotten myself killed by being an idiot, you know, and I mean, you guys have seen that plenty of times already. Like this situation, for instance, like we're losing this match. I mean, this match was over a long time ago, and nothing good has happened. But there's an Atlanta, and I'm going after the Atlanta. And maneuverability, check. And this guy, this was before, I think, what was it, patch 5.4 or whatever, when they buffed the turrets. So this Atlanta only has a few of his turrets, and now he's dead. But that guy had been kind of pissing me off throughout the entire match, and I just needed to make sure that I got a little bit more damage done, and it ended up being a kill, which I was very happy about. But if you take a look in the bottom left there, you see how low my health is. I mean, I only had like 400 health, and I think I've survived matches with like 21 health before, like 23 health, something like that, and ended up with getting like 4 kills and, you know, a few caps. This ship has to be a massive priority for you to kill if it's on the enemy team, because you don't know if you're ever going to see it. And even if you do see it, you don't know if you're ever going to see it again. So you have to take your chance to be able to do the damage, and that goes for battleships, that goes for everybody, you know. And that New Mexico just took 4 torps, and he's flooding out a bit. So I'm just going to kind of mosey on around here, and at that point I see the cruiser show up on the mini-map just behind me here at the island, and it's a Furutaka. So, or actually, I'm sorry, it's an Aoba. So the funny part about this, though, is that the Aoba is going to go ahead and chase me, and at the very least he's shooting AP, so even though that does do a lot of damage, and I did lose my engine there, surprisingly, you know, it could have been a lot worse if he used HE, because the Japanese cruiser HE, and actually just Japanese HE in general, is incredibly powerful. But there's a funny part here. He slowed down, allowed me to send off my torps, so I got 1 hit there, and now I'm detected again. But do you see what's happening over there with that New Mexico? He never repaired. And there go the torps. Ding, ding, ding. Double strike. Yeah. You just never know what this game's going to throw at you sometimes. And yeah, that's Citadel on the Omaha there, and despite my lack of health, I'm charging right at him because I'm just like that. I still play my Japanese destroyers sometimes, like they're the Nicholas or the Farragut, because to me, I beach, whatever. You guys can comment about that in the chat. But I love playing this thing aggressively, especially now with 5.4 kilometer concealment, and torp goes right in his backside, boom. And I think this match I did manage to survive as well, but you would just be amazed at how much you can actually be rewarded for using your guns and actually being a bit more aggressive. I don't recommend really anybody being aggressive like me, because honestly, actually I would say like 7 out of 10 times I'm being a total idiot, and honestly I get killed a lot for being stupid. So generally what you see here, I never really condone it. I do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, that's the old saying. So I think it's very applicable when it comes to my playstyle with any given ship. But yeah, I think this is one of the more exciting matches I played with it up to this point, and this was April 11th, I think. Yeah. I took out the Phoenix. I charged right into the middle at the start. There's a Mitsuki harassing a battleship here in the middle, and I gotta say, right when I launched those torps, I was really worried that the battleship would maneuver, like turn north and like try to curl back in case the Mitsuki was firing torps, and I was really worried that I would hit him, and I immediately regretted launching those torps, which is something I very rarely find myself in, a situation I find myself in. But luckily, one of the torps finds the Mitsuki and takes him out, but now I still have 15 seconds before my torps are reloaded, so I can actually end this Juho. But the problem is, these secondaries, you gotta be really careful against approaching battleships at this range, because they're much more likely to hit you, of course. You know, same with battleships and all of that. Charging enemy battleships, or you know, any ship that has secondaries, is very much a you're playing roulette. Let's say that much. It's a dangerous proposition at the very least. So you got to be real damn careful about that. You know, send the first wave. If that doesn't hit, yeah, sure, get closer. And don't do this, like I said, as I say, not as I do, because that shouldn't have happened in terms of me surviving, but managed to get all 6 torps and survive with the tiniest margin of health there. That is incredible. But kind of a similar situation here. I was going after the carriers. I find the second one over here. These guys, once I got around the middle of the map, they just focused on me and they just kept trying to drop torp wave after torp wave, and they couldn't hit me. And I gotta say, like, I love when carrier players try to drop torps on me like this in a ship like the Minekaze, because you've got the best chance to dodge them with this ship. It's so svelte. It just, the way it carves through the water is incredible. It's so exciting to play. Like, it's actually, I'm sorry, it's not just exciting to play, it's exciting to drive. So I'm going to split this last set of matches up into a couple of things here. So how do you play against the Minekaze? Well, I say this at the start of literally every single match: prioritize destroyers. You cannot let something like this behind your lines. You cannot let something like this stay in front of you and not be shot at. You know, it's got to be your top priority. I would prioritize a destroyer over literally any other ship. It doesn't matter if we're talking a Zao or some crap. A Zao, whatever, I can spot him from a little further away, but maybe that's a bad example, I'm sorry. But no, the emphasis on clearing out destroyers, you've got to focus on that first and foremost, because that gives your team so much breathing room to be able to maneuver, to be able to push, that sort of thing. I mean, it's hard to chase one of these things down because they're fast as hell, they're maneuverable, they stop on a dime, their torpedo reload is 47 seconds. You know, they're always a threat. And I mean, good luck trying to hit these things without seeing them. Although this is probably a bad example because I almost killed myself there like an idiot. But it's just destroyers, and especially a ship like this, you've got to put every bit of effort into getting rid of them as fast as you can. Your cap is always at threat, your carriers, your battleships, destroyers, cruisers, literally everything is a easy target. Well, maybe not easy, but it's a legitimate target for a ship like the Minekaze, and that's saying something, you know. But when it comes to playing one, if you take a look at my position here, and this is actually a very recent match, July 9th, I often, and this is something I've been working on lately, is trying to position myself in no man's land between the enemy team and my team, because that's where the Minekaze, I think, is the most powerful, where it's able to push an enemy team away, because those torps come quick. At 47 seconds and 68 knots, you can influence a lot. You can put torps out and really dissuade people from pushing forward because they know there's a Minekaze ahead. If you choose to go dark and stay that way, there's just no telling what you're going to be capable of. But you have got to use your guns. Like battleships against destroyers, you can't be afraid to use those guns, because, you know, if it's HE, or like what I tend to prefer to use is AP for the guaranteed damage of overpens. And I say that because I've been burned before by a situation where with a battleship I should have killed an enemy destroyer, but my HE shells hit and did no damage. All it did was knock out modules when it should have killed them. Yeah, AP all the way. So, or at least most of the time. Anyways, the consistency of the ship, as you see through the rest of these screenshots, I love it. I think it's just a phenomenal ship to play. I think it's very, 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 very close to being overpowered, but you can play against this. But you have to work together. You have to prioritize destroyers, and you got to make stuff happen when you have that opportunity, because that window of opportunity against a destroyer, especially like this, where a couple seconds later you may never see him again for the rest of the match, you got to take that chance and make something happen. So on the stream, I do play this rather frequently, and it's just because usually a lot of crazy stuff happens where I just I don't know, some awesome dodges or like some really low damage, like that one, 35,000 damage Kraken. I had a 32,000 damage Kraken today with it. Hilarious. But anyways, feel free to follow me on Twitter, and I do give some insight on some of the screenshots of matches I've had, and also the projects I'm working on for YouTube. But it's a good mix of stream and YouTube on there, so I'd like to keep up to date with that. But I will be streaming today. I think I'm going to start a little earlier, probably at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll take it from there. Probably play a few Minekaze matches since the video will be going live as well today. But thank you for watching, guys. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to your comments, of course, and I'll see you back here next time. Take care.
Our team has taken the lead.